Hey guys, and welcome back to your inside look around the NCAA and college football around the nation. We've been having a pretty good time watching all the games throughout Week 5. We saw some good stuff, interesting stuff. I know the A&M Arkansas game that I went to was at least interesting. Arkansas gave them a little bit of a run for their money, so that was entertaining. But looking forward to Week 6. A&M has their bye, and then their next game is Alabama, so the season's only getting tougher for them as we keep talking about. And Arkansas is just, I guess, going to tank and hope for recruiting next year. So we'll see what happens there. But I know we have a lot of games that we want to talk about today, so I won't waste any more time. I'm going to toss it to Tam. Tam, what's up, buddy?
So, I want to talk about, the Big 12 since we do live in Big 12 country. Absolutely. And Texas. It's kind of an interesting week. We got some interesting matchups for sure. The first matchup at 11 a.m. takes place in Lawrence, Kansas. OU versus Kansas. Obviously I'm going to pick Oklahoma to win this game.
Yeah.
Can Kansas make it a game? Can Kansas make it interesting? Who knows? We saw North Carolina this past week take it to the very end with Clemson and failed on a 2-point conversion attempt. But, maybe Kansas can make it interesting. But, I like OU in that game, and I think Jalen Hurts has another big game.
What a game that UNC-Clemson game was, too. When Mac Brown decided to go for 2, I was shaking in my boots. I couldn't wait to see what had happened. And it's good to see him competitive against a top-level team like Clemson. So that's always fun, and you look forward to see what is next for UNC. Hopefully Kansas can show us something like that this week. Les Miles, new coach, just brought in first season. So, we know how good Les Miles is and what he's capable of and what he's able to do. I can't wait to see what they're going to do. But just like you, I got to go with Oklahoma.
I'm not expecting Les Miles to get it going year one, but I think towards the end of this year, we'll see Kansas improve and get better.
Yeah.
And it'll be, year 2, year 3, they might be able to get something going in Lawrence. Really quick, since we mentioned Clemson, they have an interesting matchup with Wake Forest coming up. I know Wake Forest is Wake Forest, so I get that, but they are currently ranked right now in the top 20, and they are undefeated. So that could be another potential trap game for Clemson. They look beatable for sure.
Yeah, they definitely looked beatable last week, but their guard has got to be up, and I bet Dabo is just giving it to those guys in practice this week. So all they're thinking about is this game and proving that we are still number one. So I like Clemson in that game at least, but we'll see, man. You're right. Wake Forest is one of those sneaky teams.
It's not this upcoming week. It's just a game coming up.
Right.
Game coming up.
Right.
But so, anyways, on to the next matchup we have in the Big 12. Really another interesting matchup. Both teams really could use a win. Both teams do have aspirations to contend to be that one of the two teams to compete for a Big 12 championship. You have Iowa State playing TCU. The game will be played in Ames, Iowa. Both teams could use a win. Carson, what do you see playing out? I got to see Brock Purdy improving, man. He's been struggling so far.
Yeah, he has, man. Week in, week out, we thought this Iowa State team was going to be a lot better than they have been. But
I'm not seeing 2-2 at this point.
Yeah, I didn't either, and it's been kind of disappointing. But, hopefully they can get it together. They've had a couple tough breaks, but I like them this week against TCU. I'll take Iowa State, but I'd like to see the Horned Frogs do something big. It'd be big if they could beat a team like Iowa State, and I think if Iowa State loses this game, they're not going to have a very good rest of the season. That's a morale killer.
Yeah, Matt Campbell, there was rumors that he was going to leave Iowa State and go to a bigger school, but I still think he's a good coach, and I still think Iowa State has a chance to be good. But TCU's only loss up this season so far has been SMU, and I think SMU is a very underrated team.
Top 25?
I hate Gary Patterson, but I will say this: he's a good coach, I suppose. So I'm gonna pick TCU to beat this game, or to beat Iowa State, and they should hope to be 5-1 when Texas comes into Fort Worth.
That would be big, man. That would be big for that program if they took on Texas at 5-1.
Next game, you got Oklahoma State traveling to Lubbock, Texas, taking on the Red Raiders. Oklahoma State has surged up in the rankings. Their only loss has been to Texas by 6 points. This is another team who has hopes of playing in the Big 12 championship game. Texas Tech, Matt Wells, Texas Tech, usually they contend for, 6 to 8 wins a season, but With the new head coach, they're definitely going through some rebuilding phases, and you can see that.
Yeah, but it still kind of felt like old Tech this past weekend, right? Because they were putting up points still, but there's just no defense.
No defense, but, I mean, you've seen Tech. They've been in some games in years past versus Oklahoma. Oklahoma blew them out of the water. Like, they never had a shot.
Yeah.
And usually that game, in years past has been really high scoring on both ends. I just think that this is, in my opinion, this could be a down year for Tech, and they might not even make a bowl game. I'm picking Oklahoma State to win in Lubbock.
Yeah, we talked a little bit at the beginning of the episode about coaching and how hard it is for a first-year coach to come in there and win, like in Les Miles' case and Kansas and Mac Brown's case at UNC. But, I think we're going and seeing the same thing with Texas Tech, right? We have a first-year coach in Matt Wells. We'll see how many players he can get to buy into his program this year. Probably a down year for Tech. Got to think that they're going to take the L this week.
Oh, Oklahoma State. This team has the potential to be 10-1 going into the Bedlam game, and the winner of Bedlam could, face Texas or TCU in the Big 12 championship game. So it'll be interesting to see how the Pokes play out this season. But I think Oklahoma State is the safest bet.
Well, yeah, and when we're talking about coaching, you can't go wrong with Gundy.
No. Very underrated coach.
Absolutely.
The next Big 12 matchup we have, 2:30 in Morgantown. This has trap game written all over it. The number 11 Texas Longhorns take on the West Virginia Mountaineers. West Virginia's only loss of the season has been to Missouri. That game was kind of a blowout, to be honest with everybody. But, West Virginia has had some success with Texas in the past. Obviously, they don't have a quarterbacks who've been quarterbacking for them in the past. They have a transfer, Austin from Oklahoma, and it'll be interesting to see. I do think this is going to be a close game. Texas cannot look ahead, as we all know. Red River is next week. If they can, play tough football and don't have turnovers, don't have penalties, I think Texas can come out with a win. And Austin Kendall's the quarterback, the transfer's name from Oklahoma, who's starting for West Virginia.
I thought we were going to have more of a down year from West Virginia this year, and they've looked pretty good up to this point in the season, I will say. So I understand where you're coming from. We're saying that this could possibly be a trap game. I got to go with the Horns on this one, but I got to say, Tan, you sound a little bit salty about the Horns not having the most success against the Mountaineers in years past.
No, last year, Will Greer broke my heart and threw a perfect pass to David Sills in the back of the end zone, and they came into Austin and won. And they've beaten Texas before.
Morgantown's no easy place to play either.
They call it Touchdown City for a reason.
Yeah, it's tough, but still got to go with the Horns, sticking with Tom Herman on this one.
Absolutely. And the last Big 12 matchup that we want to talk about, and this could be big for both teams, Baylor versus Kansas State. I think it's safe to say the winner of this game is going to be ranked for sure. I like where Baylor's going. And Kansas State, they lost Bill Snyder. This new coach maybe has them a little bit ahead of schedule as they're 3-1 and won in Starkville earlier in the season. But I'm picking Baylor to win this game.
Well, it's early in the season. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves with records and whatnot, but and looking way too far down the stretch of the season. But Baylor has been looking good, and Kansas State has also been looking really good. I've been giving them a lot of praise for playing really physical football as of recent. They had a bad week last week. They took a tough loss, but I think they'll bounce back against Baylor. I'd like to see Kansas State win this game, although I got to say I'm not really disappointed with the outcome if either team wins, because I would love to see either program build themselves up a little bit, especially after Baylor has taken quite a fall in the Big 12 in recent years.
So it'd be big if Baylor could get that done and go 5-0. That would be huge for that program.
Yeah, but I'm sticking with Kansas State as the team I'm picking for sure, though.
So now we're going to transition into some of the bigger games nationwide, not just in the Big 12. Obviously, the first one that comes to my mind, and this is a huge game for Harbaugh, Michigan, is number 14 Iowa goes on the road and plays number 19 Michigan. This, in my opinion, this is a must-win win for Michigan. They do not want to get their second conference loss already in Week 6.
It's way too early for that. And if you're Harbaugh, you're like, shoot, man, I got to still play Michigan State. I got to still play Ohio State. Yeah. Like, it's just heating up. Like, the season is far from over. And if you want to keep your spot, you better win football games.
I'm picking Iowa.
I gotta say, I'm gonna pick Iowa too. I think Iowa's an overlooked team, and I think they can beat Michigan. I don't know how much that really ends up saying at the end of the day.
That's a fair point. That's actually a really fair point. Iowa is one of the few teams I respect, though, in the Big Ten. So I do respect Iowa, and I do think they're going to get a win and continue to be undefeated.
I'm just not sold by this Michigan team, man. And I hate giving them all this praise and hoping that maybe they'll do well. And I don't even know why I'm rooting for them.
Another big game. This one takes place in Gainesville in the SEC. Number 7 Auburn goes on the road and takes on number 10 Florida. Obviously, the loser of this game, it could be big depending on what Texas does at number 11 in Morgantown. They could propel themselves in the top 10 before Red River, which would be awesome.
Yeah.
But I don't know what kind of Florida team is going to show up. And to be honest with you guys, I don't even know what kind of team Florida is yet. I don't know if that number 10 next to their name is deserving. Auburn has looked very good this year, and if they can beat Auburn, then I'd say they earn a top 10 ranking for sure. This is a team that has not looked very good so far this season. They've been in most of their games, have been very close against subpar competition. So this is going to be their first true test. But I like Auburn going into Gainesville and winning.
We're picking a lot of the same teams this week, and normally I don't really like doing that because I like having a little bit of competition between us, but I really think that these are just the right picks. Auburn, I do think Auburn will come out winning this football game. I'm not sold with Florida yet. I have no idea what that team is about. Auburn has proved to me that they can get it done in crunch time situations and in clutch moments, especially with Bo Nix as their starting quarterback. I love that kid. I think that football team has a lot of talent and a burning desire to win football games. And with that mentality, you just can't lose with the kind of talent
they looked good against Mississippi State, too. They blew them out of the water for sure.
They've looked good against Oregon. They look good against Mississippi State. They look good against A&M. I mean, I'm sold on Auburn.
They're passing all the tests so far. They still got some big games coming up against LSU and obviously Alabama.
That Iron Bowl Classic. Man.
But, Auburn needs to take care of business against Florida for sure.
Absolutely.
The primetime game on ABC takes place in the Big Ten. Columbus, Ohio. Shout out my boy Cameron Mazzoni. Michigan State's ranked 25. They come into Columbus and play number 4, Ohio State. Michigan State has had some success with Ohio State in the past, but Ohio State took care of business with Nebraska. For some reason, I thought Nebraska was going to keep it close, but Scott Frost and the Cornhuskers have a long way to go before.
What a disappointing game.
I mean, they didn't even show up.
Yeah,
but,
seriously.
I like Ohio State to win this game. They have the number 4 next to their name for a reason, and in my opinion, I do think that it is the Big Ten's only shot to get a playoff team is Ohio State. I don't see in the Big Ten offensively who can keep up with these guys, and Ryan Day has that offense and that team going and looking really good.
I gotta agree with you. I love seeing an upset, and I'm going to be rooting for Michigan State in this game, but I think the right pick is Ohio State. Michigan State looked really vulnerable to me in a lot of areas when they played Arizona
Scored
State.
6 points against Arizona State.
Yeah, you can't. And credit to Herm Edwards and his program because they have looked phenomenal all season long, with a couple exceptions, but much improved over last season. And so I like what they have going on, and it's scary to think about that for Michigan State if you're going up against, like you said, a Big Ten powerhouse. That's really their only hope to get into the playoff, in my eyes, and in all practicality.
Wisconsin does not impose any threat to me. They don't impose a fear. Like I understand the number 8, but at the end of the day, I mean,
well, you got to prove it, right?
Like I just wish the committee would understand. Like there's no way Wisconsin's going to be able to contend with a team like Alabama.
Well, it'd be like throwing Notre Dame in last year.
Yeah,
Notre Dame had no business.
Same outcome, but I think Ohio State will get it done. But this is their first ranked team they will play this season. And I think they're going to come out and make a statement, and Michigan State will lose that number 25 ranking at the end of this week.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
But thank you guys for tuning into the show. A lot to talk about for Week 7. Notable games coming up. Texas versus Oklahoma. We'll be previewing that game along with the LSU-Florida game and all other kinds of big matchups coming up. But hope you guys have a great weekend and enjoy watching all the games throughout the country.
Thanks for listening, y'all. Tune in next week.